No. I am your father.
No. It's not true. That's impossible!
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Lex Morningstar and this YouTube channel is about the 16 personality types, specifically INFP, and of course I dabble a little bit in mental health. And due to popular demand, I had put up a little poll, if you will, on Instagram and Facebook. If you haven't added me already, please add me. So the poll was, should we make this ESTJ versus INFP thing a series? So like XXXX versus INFP. The people wanted it, so the people get it. So today's video is the INTJ versus the INFP. So I will be looking at the differences between both the types, what kind of conflicts can arise, and how we can resolve them. Now this topic, as I was kind of like researching it last night, it was really difficult for me to get stuck in and really try to do the INTJ justice. And the reason being is that I am assuming that my elder brother, who's 7 years older than me, is an INTJ. The relationship between him and I is like quite complex, and I want to be able to come from a very genuine place with it and really do it justice. So I'll be dabbling into the relationship between my brother and I a bit later on in this video, but I will be starting off talking about the functions of the INTJ and the INFP, and then I'll be going on to talk about the differences, the conflicts, and how we can better relate. So if you're interested, stay tuned. So as we did with the ESTJ and the INFP in the previous video, I'm going to be looking at the INTJ and INFP functions. So the INTJ's cognitive functions are as follows. Their leading function is introverted intuiting for foreseeing implications, transformations, and likely effects. Their supporting function is extroverted thinking for segmenting, organizing for efficiency. I could never say these, it's so annoying. Segmenting, organizing for efficiency, and systematizing. The relief function is introverted feeling for valuing and considering importance, beliefs, and worth. And the aspirational function is extroverted sensing for experiencing and acting in the immediate context. Now, the INFP, of course, is a little bit different than this. The INFP does share a few similarities, which I will be talking about very soon, but however, the INFP's cognitive functions are as follows. The INFP's leading function is introverted feeling for valuing and considering importance, beliefs, and worth. Their supporting function is extroverted intuiting for interpreting situations and relationships and pick up meanings and interconnections to other contexts. Their relief function is introverted sensing for reviewing and recalling past experiences and seeking detailed data. Their aspirational function is extroverted thinking for segmenting, organizing for efficiency, and systematizing. So, let's dive into the key differences in between these two types. Otherwise known as the mastermind, INTJs are extremely perceptive, intuitive, and logical.
I shall be the terrifying bat who swoops from the sky and sucks the vital essence of his prey.
Like the INFP, INTJs are visionaries. However, through their methodical approach, INTJs are analytical problem solvers, seeking to understand concepts and to expand their knowledge. They like to think of the unthinkable and then seek to prove it. They communicate through logic and reason and aim to generate new ideas and concepts backed up by data. They are not interested in understanding people, ideas, and concepts on an emotional or sentimental level. However, the INFP, although respects this process, and will oftentimes feel inspired by the INTJ's ability and aptitude to push intellectual boundaries, the INFP has different motivations to pushing ideas and exploring concepts. INFPs prefer to analyze matters of the heart, what they value.
I know there is good in you. The Emperor hasn't driven it from you fully.
Whether dreaming up revolutionary sentiments or feeling the urge to push an agenda, the INFP's motive is bettered by the human condition. Boom. So really what we're looking at here is that the INTJ is logically driven and the INFP is driven by core principles and values. Now, of course, the INTJ, even though they're introverts and they don't really like talking for the sake of it, they're not that kind of person, they do like a good debate and they're not afraid of conflict. They use debating and conflicts as means to expand their knowledge, so they're very receptive to new ideas and principles and concepts, and if someone can kind of like disprove them or make them think critically about something, the INTJ is really going to thrive off that, whereas the INFP, on the other hand, is, we're the sensitive kind of folk, and it can be hard to hear certain truths sometimes. We're the kinds of people who like to create a harmonious environment, and although we too love hearing about other people's concepts and ideals and agendas and knowledge, we would rather not step into such a degree of conflict that there could be criticisms on people's personalities and like people could end up taking them personally. So the INTJ doesn't really think about that when you're in a conflicting situation, whereas the INFP will. INTJs thrive on complex concepts and they seek to understand on an intellectual level, and they aim to expand their knowledge. While INFPs can be very intelligent people as well, the INFP's drive comes from what their INFP values. INFPs are gentle crusaders fighting for what they believe in and what they value, what their core principles are. So you can kind of see a difference here between the two types. The INTJ just wants to expand knowledge and find different concepts. The INFP does the same kind of thing, but it comes from a place of emotion and heart. The INTJ engages through intellect and reason and uses that to seek solutions, whereas the INFP engages through emotion and feeling and would rather form a solution by understanding, empathizing and relating to other people. Let's look at the INTJ and the INFP's conflicts. Like, where do these two types butt heads? Now, I have to read this again because I was up at like 11:30 last night writing this down. It was coming from a place like, okay, let me just clear some things up here. When I plan for my videos, usually it's like the day before, and while I get a lot of my information online, I also use my own experiences to fuel the video, like to fuel the information I'm putting out here. So what I'm about to explain here is actually coming from my own experiences and using the INTJs in my life as one big collective to explain the personality type between the INTJ and the INFP and where the conflict happens. Insomnia Lex. Okay. The INFP and the INTJ share their capacity for stepping out of the status quo to achieve objectives which are personal to them, whether that be in an intellectual pursuit for the INTJ or a value-driven movement for the INFP. Both keen to learn and grow as individuals, the INFP is open to understanding the reasoning behind the INTJ. And similarly, the INTJ enjoys expressing their knowledge and concepts to the receptive INFP. Both the INFP and the INTJ like to be kept on their toes, analysing new ideas and concepts. So you can see there, that is a similarity. However, because the INTJ does not make themselves aware of social and emotional cues from others, nor does such tension not bother them, the INTJ may appear overbearing, cynical, cold, and sometimes a little bit of a know-it-all. Just maybe a little. So how does the INFP receive all of this? Well, because the INFP is pretty sensitive to criticism and dissonant and harmonious situations, the INFP might begin to close themselves off in self-preservation. They have a difficult time relating to others who appear to have haughty self-expressions, no matter the cause or the reason. INFPs also recline into a shell when they're pushed too far, and they lose respect for those who feel entitled to social admiration. However, because the INTJ motive is to educate others on the facts and perceive their concepts to be right without fault, to the INTJ, the INFP should accept the fact and be content with the INTJ's foolproof approach. Simple. The INTJ doesn't understand and doesn't seek to understand why the INFP shuts off when information and facts are enlightening them, aka being forced down the throat. The INTJ believes people should trust reason, to which they can efficiently educate others on. How do we fix this problem? It is a problem, and we should collectively work together to resolve this kind of issue because we are mature. We are both emotionally and intellectually intelligent. Well, we're working on it. We want to be able to better humanity. I think that is a similarity between both the INTJ and INFP. We both want to benefit humanity. It doesn't really matter if one of them's emotional and the other one's through intellect and logic and reason. And either way, we both have somewhat of a common goal. So how do we improve the situation? Both types are fortunate in the sense they like to push social boundaries, even if the motives behind their agendas are different, as I just stated before. The two types, if healthy and open to learning and growing as people, can actually make a dynamic duo.
We're like long-lost brothers who found each other
And love each other like family.
Batman is said to be an INTJ. I'm not sure of Robin's type. I'll look at that after this video. It just goes to show that INTJs can work with other types. Both minds seek to explore and uncover truths, and both types, when together and healthy, can balance out reason and sentiment while pushing and breaking boundaries in a creative and innovative manner. So one of the questions I want to ask you is this kind of duo between the INFP and the INTJ. What do you think that looks like, and what do you think, like, when those two types come together in a very healthy manner and they're very receptive from each other, what do you think they can produce as a duo? Leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear your theory on that. So the INTJ should work on empathizing and trying to understand where the INFP is coming from, where their values are coming from, why they believe what they believe, and why does the INFP hold these particular values? Because the INFP is going to have a reason, and it's going to be a damn good reason. But I think the INTJ's biggest challenge is being able to just let that ego drop just a little bit, just to be open-minded and to hear other people. So what should the INFP do in this manner? Well, the INFP, of course, as I said in the last video, the ESTJ versus INFP video, that the INFP should just not take criticism so personally. Now, that's such a challenge. If you're an INFP, you'll know that that can be a challenge if you are particularly sensitive to criticism. Something that we as INFPs, we can learn so much from the INTJ. It's okay to debate. It is okay to research things, to come up with your own opinion, to know the facts of things, and to put them on the table and have a really honest and fruitful discussion with an INTJ. Even though that might sound quite daunting, and I've been there, it can be very enlightening, and you can learn a lot, not just in an intellectual manner, but also learn about other people and about how to interact with others who are different than you. So that's the INTJ versus the INFP. Now to finish, I'm loved once again. So before I finish off this video, I just want to briefly talk about my brother, who I assume is an INTJ, although I'm not totally sure. A clear example of that is that he probably would never take a personality test because he has told me many times that the MBTI is not a thing, and and here's all the proof and rah-de-rah-de-rah. But what he does not understand is that, yeah, while I can see the criticisms of this whole phenomenon, he doesn't understand that the reason I run my channel and the reason why I talk about these personalities isn't for the fact of talking about the personalities. It is a way for me to relate to all of you guys and to talk about the human condition. Actually, you know what? Instead of me saying at the start of my videos, I talk about the 16 personalities, I should rather say I'm Lex Morningstar and this channel is about the human condition, because that's really what it's about. It's just that I find using the INFP label as a good kind of base to relate to other people who get the same type as me, so most of you guys out there. So that there is a clear example of my brother and I kind of butting heads in a little conflict there. I really hope he doesn't mind me talking about him. He probably doesn't even watch my channel. But anyway, so when I turned 18, my brother was living in a different city than me, and I was living with my parents at the time. I gathered a few friends around to celebrate my birthday and heard a knock on the door. I went to open it and it was my brother, and he had surprised me. I was not expecting him to come along to my 18th birthday because he doesn't really do that kind of thing. So it caught me by surprise that my elder brother came to celebrate my birthday with me, and I was really secretly chuffed. As he was staying during that week, I remember we went out to the deck and we were looking at the stars, and he was pointing at all the stars, telling me the different constellations. I'm always going to remember that moment in our lives as the way that my brother and I could connect. And back then I was still my dreamy kind of INFP self. So, I really wanted to listen to him, and I wanted to soak up the knowledge that he could give me, because I trust my brother in terms of logic and reason. And there have been many times in my life where I've had a question or something, I would have to seek a scientific answer for it. I would do my own research, but then if I wasn't so sure, I would go and ask him, and he would give me a really, really solid answer and give me all of these sources just like straight off the bat. 5 minutes, there it is. So I really, really appreciated that. And that was him being a big brother to me. However, there have been other times where we haven't seen eye to eye, because I'm very expressive and I'm so much of a feeler, and I'm someone who likes to relate to things on emotional levels. He doesn't really understand that so much, and that's okay. He doesn't have to. I'm not trying to put pressure on anyone here. So last night when I was preparing for this video, as I was writing down facts about the INTJ, I was using my brother to explain the INTJ as my brother representing the INTJ as a whole. I actually released a lot of stuff, and it helped me to address certain turmoil that I had within myself. And I had to laugh at this fact because it is such an INFP thing to do. I'll stop rambling now because this video is getting on. For the next video, I have a special guest who I will be interviewing, who is XXXX versus INFP. So I'm not going to reveal which type I'm going to do next, but I have a friend joining me to talk about our differences. So stay tuned for that video, and I hope you have a really good day, night, evening, morning, wherever you are in the world. Bye bye now.